Is height a little bonus, or is it a huge deal? Does height matter if you're facially unattractive? Can you get away with being short if you have a great face? Let's find out. We'll look into many different examples and also statistics in order to reach a somewhat accurate conclusion. I've noticed that men have a really strong opinion on what women prefer. They tend to think that every woman would prefer a guy who's 5'9" with a great face, over a normie guy who's 6'2", and the opposite. That's a huge problem in the manosphere. Men think that they know what every woman wants. We're not talking about having a general sense of what's attractive, we're talking about guys being absolutely certain of what's considered attractive, even if there's proof for the opposite. A good example is Cillian Murphy. I've seen many comments by men assuming what every woman likes. They vary from, he's 5'8" so he's nothing special, to height doesn't matter when you have a face like this. The truth is that women aren't a single entity. You wish it was that easy. I've seen women cry on TikTok when they found out that their celebrity crush is only 5'8", and I've also seen women not caring that much, and being willing to do anything for a guy like him. And I think men's cognitive biases stem from their own appearance. If a guy is tall, he'll tend to think that height matters the most. Why? Because that's what he wants to believe and what makes him feel good. On the other hand, shorter guys with attractive faces tend to brush off height as if it was a little bonus. The truth is somewhere in the middle. There are girls who care more about height than others. Obviously every girl has a standard and would ideally want a tall guy, but for some it's necessary to be over 6 feet, while for others 5'10" might be okay, even lower than that if the guy has a great face. There's a very small group of men who think that there are no types and that looks are 100% objective. My guess is that the same group of men will have a really strong opinion about today's subject too. But in reality there are types and preferences, even though looks are mostly objective. Especially when it comes to the extremes. For example, probably no woman on planet Earth, or even on other planets, would call Brad Pitt unattractive. And also no woman on Earth would call a 2 out of 10 a Chad. But things tend to be a bit more subjective when it comes to people who are somewhere in the middle. For example, a normal-looking guy who happens to have blue eyes might be considered as attractive by girls who have a strong preference for blue eyes. Other girls might not consider the same guy anything special, cause they might prioritize other things such as height, or the shape over the color of the eye, etc. Let's look at boy bands. Usually all the guys are attractive, but on paper their attractiveness isn't exactly the same. So, why do different girls have different favorites? Let's look at One Direction for example. Some girls were Zayn Malik simps, others liked Harry Styles more, etc. If looks were 100% objective, then all of them would have the same guy as their favorite, but in reality this doesn't happen and preferences do exist. Now again, no girl has a preference for very unattractive or very short guys. Preferences and niches can't turn an unattractive guy into a Chad. But they can give a nice bonus, which sometimes is crucial. I'm saying all of this in order to make a point in the eternal debate of height versus face. There's no clear winner. Some girls will choose the 5'9" guy with the great face, while others might go for the tall normie. A general rule of thumb is that it's better to be decent everywhere, rather than being great in one area and terrible in another. For example, your chances are much better if you're 5'10" with an average face, rather than being 6'3" and very facially unattractive. And the opposite. It's much better to be 5'10" with an average face, compared to being 5'4" with a great face. But when it comes to the middle, it's tough to say if a woman would prefer a handsome guy who's 5'10", over a man who's 6'2" with a normie face. An example from my social circle. I had a childhood friend who's 6'3" but his face is quite below average. Prey eyes, non-existent eyebrows, chubby face. His height wasn't a factor at all. It didn't matter that he was the tallest kid in class, girls never gave him any attention. And we always talk about how height equals personality and status, etc. While that's true, it is only true when you're at least average in the face too. This guy could be 5'7" or 6'3", it made absolutely no difference due to his face. But at least he could undergo some procedures to fix his face a bit and reach almost normie levels. He could realistically fix his eyebrows and even get a beard transplant, or try to grow it with minoxidil, and he could improve his eye and jaw areas. If these weren't enough, he could even try something like jaw fillers. The road would be tough, but it's still way easier than being extremely short. A guy who's 5'3" with a great face is cursed. The only procedure for height is too invasive and expensive too. I guess nothing is impossible, and some guys have done it, but if I had to pick my poison, it would be the face rather than the height. Now let's move away from dating and let's talk about jobs. We've mentioned in other videos how height can influence your career success, and the crazy statistic of 58% of CEOs being over 6 feet tall. But again, if someone's face is way below average, it won't matter that much. On the other hand, shorter guys who have great faces can still have an advantage over taller normies. Great faces can make it to television or the big screen, even if they're a bit shorter than average. Again, up to an extent. 5'3" guys will most likely be cut, while being around 5'8" is something that can be worked around with angles etc. Tom Cruise is around 5'7", or 170 centimeters, same as Kit Harington and Jesse Eisenberg. Tom Holland is 5'8", or 173 centimeters, same as Mark Wahlberg and Zac Efron. Of course these guys are talented, but they're also on the attractive side, which definitely gives them a boost, while their not so attractive colleagues are cursed to mostly play comedic roles or smaller ones. And again, there are exceptions, but if you were a producer, would you rather have Cillian Murphy as your main guy, or Danny DeVito? If it's not comedy and you care about money, you'll want an attractive guy as the forefront of your business. A short guy with a great face can also make it as a model, just not a runaway model where height plays a big role. I'm mentioning these examples because I see many people talk about how height helps with your career, but a good face also helps a lot, and in some cases can make up for a lack of height in some professions. Both height and face can translate to trustworthiness. Here are some crazy height stats. Every single United States president in the past 100 years has been of average or above average height. In the past 100 years, the average president's height has been around 183 centimeters or 6 feet. In the same time frame, Americans voted for the taller man about 3 out of 4 times, and the winners are on average 3.81 centimeters taller than their opponents. Now wouldn't it be nice to have some data about facial attractiveness too? But it's way more difficult to extract data about the face. That's why to some people it might seem that height is way superior than the face, because it's more objective and easier to extract data from. How can we extract data about the face? It's way more complicated. Especially in jobs where both men and women can be responsible for hiring someone, because it's been shown that the two genders view attractiveness differently. Males tend to think that masculine men are more attractive, and most of them, including me, cannot understand how quote-unquote cute boys, or K-pop singers are considered more attractive than Jason Momoa by some women. But they are. Some women prefer the pretty boy type over the overly masculine one. That's another reason why men rating themselves or other men is inherently flawed. Sure, even a man who has no idea about the female gaze can tell that Brad Pitt is attractive. But when it comes to different types, different ethnicities etc., ratings become way more difficult. That's why the best way to find out how attractive you are is how women treat you and not face ratings. Anyway, I'll probably make a video on the problems with face ratings in the near future. Leave your comments below and I'll see you soon.